Hello everyone, this is The Grave American. I'm your host, Justice Graves, and I want to welcome everyone to a segment that we are calling Flashpoint. So what this is designed to do is it's to give a more personal check-in for the channel. Sometimes these Flashpoints may end up being live streamed, but for the beginning they're going to be pre-recorded just so that I can keep my sanity with all of the stuff that I'm going to have to keep track in my head. I want to distinguish that this is not a new episode. Flashpoints are made to highlight what the next few shows are going to be about, typically in groups of 3, maybe 4 or 5 if there's just a lot under one umbrella topic, but usually they'll be broken up. These segments also create an opportunity for me to give updates on the channel. Maybe we'll do something new, maybe there'll be a new host, maybe there'll be a really big interview coming up. That'll be something for the Flashpoints. Sneak peeks, forecasts sometimes, which is what we'll do a little bit today. They're typically very short, but for the first few, they're going to be fairly long until we get the rhythm in, and just because there's a few things that I want to mention with regards to the channel. And just if there's any special events, this will also be covered in the Flashpoints. It's just a great way to condense everything while we have the regular channel stuff going on, so it doesn't muddy the waters. So what I want to do first is obviously kind of a direct message. I want to definitely address the fact that this did not launch when it was supposed to. For those of you who do not know, and there's quite a bit of you, I typically get a lot of throat infections, and that is exactly what happened right before Thanksgiving. So I was and usually when I get them, it's the only thing that makes me extremely ill. So I'm usually out for a good week or 2 trying to recover from that, which I did. After I recovered, which was basically the day or 2 after Thanksgiving, so lost our internet connection. A big storm that came through disrupted our satellite and actually pushed it out of alignment a little bit, which was surprising because we haven't had that happen in many years. We usually have a lot of issues due to the weather, but that's not usually a permanent issue. So that was a problem. So I couldn't actually go online to say we can't upload anything because I had no access. So I just got everything back as of this recording, and I finally recovered, so that's good. But I just want to make a mention that that's why we're launching now, because those 2 things just lined up for the perfect storm, literally. So apologies, but not really an apology because I can't control my health, and I can't control the weather. So, bit of an excuse there. On the channel right now, we are going to start the process. This is just sort of more miscellaneous stuff before I get into what the next few shows and episodes are going to be about. We're going to start reaching out for interviews so we can get some interesting stories going on. I plan to do quite a few interviews on this channel about people who are more at the local level. There'll be some interesting people who have a different perspective. I'm talking about interviewing, people maybe politically aligned that are Republican, Democrat, maybe a libertarian, maybe some self-avowed, socialists, because that's not really a party in the US, but it is a growing movement. So we'll see what happens. We have a few libertarians that I do know. I don't know if they'll be completely willing to interview, but they do offer some unique perspectives when it comes to a wide variety of what's going on. We are also actively looking for assistance. Granted, I was just sick as of this recording not that long ago, and just got back internet not that long ago, just for reference point. So as of this recording, we're actively looking for assistance. So if you are somebody, if you know me, if you are somebody who wants to do, you see what the channel is doing and you like it, or you want to add a different perspective and you want to talk about it, that's great. The only person helping me right now is doing audio, so it's just me, myself, and I monitoring everything from the emails to online. That is also why I chose not to go on Twitter, because I do not like Twitter. Brings out the worst in people. It is possible if there's a future co-host, they may want to start a Twitter account. That's perfectly fine. But my life is not on the internet, and I have zero interest in fighting with people on an open account on Twitter. I already have enough people that don't like what I'm saying now on Facebook or Instagram. I'm not going to extend that. I'm crazy. You know me, I'm a little crazy. Not that crazy. Not crazy enough to go onto Twitter. It's also just not interesting, and it's just not my style. But again, if you're interested, you want to start doing that kind of stuff, you want to be on the channel, you want to manage all the social media, go for it. You can go and have whatever Twitter wars you want, as long as I understand what's going on. But as long as I'm in complete control, especially if social media, you're not going to see Twitter. So don't ask for it, don't beg for it. You don't want to see me fight on Twitter. I'm just totally disinterested. All right, now we're going to get into the first couple episodes and then a few things about you, the audience. So the first 3 episodes that are coming up are going to be around the theme, and this will be the theme for like a few of the flashpoints, will be about elections and basic rules. Some of them will be basic local government rules. Some of them will be basic meeting rules, just so that you can understand. Because our focus isn't just about elections, even though we will focus a little bit on it since that is a big topic right now and it's in the public conscience. We will talk a lot more about local affairs and local issues from what I can actually talk about. Our first episode is going to be about the 2020 election. It's going to feature a lot of commentary. If you do not want to hear about the 2020 election, that's the one to miss, which is the very first episode. We're going to talk about the major and the minor elections that happened and that took place. We're not going to talk about the litigation. It's its own microcosm. If we were to talk about, first of all, I would just like to see it continue to go through, mostly because it will be more interesting to discuss after it is all over, when we actually know in hindsight what's going on, but we don't even know what's happening in the forefront, which is quite honestly the problem with commentating on it right now. It's also the least interesting thing that's going on, if you're actually paying attention to what happened in the elections. And if a lot of people are talking about Georgia, but that is a big distraction. I won't get into it because that is not what this is about. But we'll talk about Georgia. We'll talk about the House. We'll talk about the Senate. We'll talk about local races. We'll talk about the state governments, which is more about what this channel is about, is state and local governments. So that'll be an interesting take, because it's possible you don't know what happened at those levels, because everyone generally knows what's going on in the Senate. They might know what's going on in the House. And they may know a little bit about, well, I hope you know about the presidency. And you may know about the litigation, but we're just going to be focusing on sort of more of a broad view topic. And in general, we're probably going to redo that first episode and expand on it, as like a 4th or a 5th episode, because there's just way too much, and it's possible that you have questions and that you have critical feedback about what you really want to talk about. The second episode is going to be about open meeting law. Personally, I want to start with Robert's rules, but I think the open meeting law is much more applicable because I am an appointed official on a legislative body of a committee. So there are things that I cannot talk about. I can talk about politics and I can talk about a lot of different things that don't go under my purview. And during that episode, I'll talk about what I can talk about. If we had a second host, another shameless plug, you could talk about that host can talk about whatever they want without me. But in my videos or in any of my round tables, there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be purposely excluded, because that would, one, not be ethical. First of all, ethics is usually what drives my decisions. And 2, it would also violate that specific law. And we'll talk about what open meeting law is. The third episode is going to be about the Electoral College, because I know that's very confusing, and I personally have a few qualms about the way that people sort of discuss the Electoral College and the way that they go about it. We'll talk about some history about the Electoral College specifically and sort of how it has had an effect on the entire process that we see today. That'll be the third episode. That may also pop up in an interview. The Electoral College, I plan on popping it up in an interview because that's also a very good roundtable discussion, and that's very good for a special, so look out for that happening. And the audience. So we're not doing a lot of live streaming right now, mostly just because I just got healthy, and the internet's back, and we don't know how this channel's going to go. But we are interested in having more involved discussions with the audience. We do have a Instagram, so you can, send messages on Instagram if you want. We're at The Grave American. It's pretty hard to miss us. I'm on the artwork for it. You can also email us at questions.tga@gmail.com. I will look that over a couple times a week and try and answer questions or, incorporate that into pre-recorded episodes or live streams. So we'll see how that goes in the future. There may be live chats. If there are live streams, we'll just have to see. Because I'm by myself, I don't have a moderator. So that's sort of why we're also not doing live streaming right now. One of the things of interest that I would like to do is to engage more with the audience is if people are interested in book club, because there are a lot of books, both works of fiction and works of highly qualified works of literature that bring up some interesting topics on local issues, or just in America in general. Two of the books that I think would be interesting, and I'd love it if you guys commented what you thought on this. One is a bit of a light reading, and you may not know that the author wrote this book. It is The Casual Vacancy by J.K. Rowling. It is a work of fiction. It's one of the only other works that she has written that is not the Harry Potter series. I've read a good portion of it. I've never finished it. This would be a good way to finish it. It talks about, as the casual vacancy in the title describes, it's a casual vacancy on a council at a local parish in an English, very small English town. That brings up interesting topics. And it's more of a work of fiction. It's more of a lighter reading to get into some of the topics of local government and elections, and you sort of get the idea. The harder reading, which I'm currently in the middle of, and it would be interesting if people wanted to join, would be Plato's Republic, which you can get because it is now in, the public sphere. I mean, Plato's not alive anymore. You can generally find it for free online. You can generally find it for free on Amazon. You can find it for free on Apple Books. I don't know if it's called Apple Books. You get the idea. You can find it for free. It talks about different things with regards to a whole host of subjects relating to wealth, the concept of the perfect city. There's a lot of ethical and philosophical conversations. It'd be a much deeper conversation, but if people were very interested in that versus the casual vacancy, to just deep dive in, that'd be great. Or we could do the casual vacancy to start and move on to Plato's Republic. Plato's Republic is not easy. And for added challenge, you could totally find it as, its original format, if you happen to know ancient Greek. I'm sure a lot of people don't, so I don't recommend that. There may be a poll on Instagram or YouTube about this if people want to, if people are interested. So just be on the lookout for that. And we're just going to kind of wrap it up. This is a lot longer than our normal Flashpoints, mostly because it's the first one, and because of the fact that everything got delayed, and because I wanted to bring up the ideas of, having the audience interact with us a little bit more, and to just sort of give you a preview of what's to come. Another feature of the Flashpoint is that the very first links, because I include links in every single video that we do when we're talking about, when it's anything other than an interview, I bring up articles that I use as reference points. The very first articles for each of the 3 videos that are going to come up are going to be in the description, so you can read that, so you'll get a hint of what we may discuss before that gets going. You could also jump down the rabbit hole, read all the information, because some of them pretty much wrap up exactly what we're going to talk about in each of the first episodes. We're going to kind of close it out. As always, you can follow us on Instagram at The Grave American, And you can always send us questions via email to questions.tga@gmail.com. It's in the description below. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe. I know those buttons are right below here. And please turn in for our first episodes and see what you like. Send us feedback. All I can ask for. Never done this before. This is extremely new. And we're going to sign off. Libertas Justitia Quae. Have a great evening or morning whenever you're watching this. All right, thank you.